story as well, because the call was for how did you get to Minnesota? And I don't know if you have the title or not, but the title of my story is, Are There Black Folks in Minnesota? So what happened is this. I grew up in the state of Virginia, a little town called Franklin, but I was out in the country. I lived on a farm, and I'm what's known as a sharecropper's daughter. And I was there for 17 years because on my 17th birthday, my mother was buried. She had had a massive stroke, and she didn't make it through the night. Now, I have an older sister, then another sister, then an older brother, then another brother. And, you know, when something happens in the family with the parents, one of them, you know, takes care of you. Usually it's the oldest. So that would have been my oldest sister. But I need to give you a little background as to what I'm coming from, what I grew up in. I grew up in the 50s, early 60s.
What are you? What are you? Hi everybody, I'm Colleen Casey, and I get that question rather frequently. Not from people that I know, but from people I don't really know. Maybe a stranger on a bus or at a bus stop. Maybe somebody I meet in a class, first day of class before the class starts and we get to talking. Maybe the person who's helping me at the grocery store and I'm checking out with her. That happened on Thursday. So I get that. Does anybody else get that too? You feel me? Okay, we get it. Thank you. Yeah, and so anyway, that question might also come in other forms, just worded differently. For example, excuse me, can I ask you, what's your ethnicity? Or maybe this one. What's your heritage? Then there's this one. Where do you come from? As if I'm an enigma, something they're trying to figure out. Well, when I get that question from Native people, it's, so where are you from? Now I respond to people who ask me, where are you from? Non-natives, I'll say, Minnesota. A response to which I've heard on more than one occasion, funny, you don't look Minnesotan. Now when Native people ask me, it's another story because they're recognizing that I have a Native identity and they want to get at my tribal affiliation, my background, connect with me. And I get this question from both non-Native Americans and Native Americans, and that is, are you Native American? But I get that one from natives, and it sounds more like, so are you Native? Which is usually followed by, so where are you from? So I say, yes, I'm Native. I often say, yes, I'm mixed, because I am. And I tell people I'm Mdewakanton Dakota descent, which means I'm from the Dakota people who lived in Minnesota, who lived in the Bedote area, the area of land surrounding the confluence of the Mississippi and the Minnesota rivers, before settlement occurred and as early settlement was happening. And so, these Dakota people, not my family line, I'll tell you why, were largely removed from Minnesota.
What a beautiful community we have. I just want to really start with gratitude. Thank you all for being here to witness our stories. Thank you for my community of women and witches and family that are here to support me. So I just wanted to start with that. My 9-year-old body somehow has managed to find a way to get comfortable between my mother's knees as we're sitting in the backyard underneath the shade of the tree. My head is leaning on her knee and she is meticulously parting my hair, reaching in to get some kibe that she's gonna put on my scalp. We've done this ritual, this eBay spiced butter that she puts on my scalp and my hair, enough to know that soon she'll be done, and soon I'll have a few moments of freedom before we're back to the sink for a good scrub, and then back in that position between her knees where she's gonna put in my braids. This memory comes back to me very clearly as I stand behind her in the bathroom. The shears are running up the back of her neck, over the occipital bone, and in a circular pattern, harvesting hair that my left hand is grabbing. I soon have enough to throw it away. My mother has breast cancer, and she's in the middle of chemotherapy. The text from her last night was very brief. I think it's time to shave my hair. It's terrifying how it keeps coming out. What do you think? So my sister and I have shown up this morning to take care of it. There are negotiations about where this is all going to take place. It's too cold outside. My mom can't stomach doing it in the garage, and so we finally settle for the bathroom, but only after we promise that we will clean things up really well. You see, my mom has this thing with hair. She hates stray hair, and when she sees hair just anywhere, she'll quickly grab a Kleenex, pick it up, and throw it away as if it were a pest. When my sister and I were young and we were detangling our hair in the shower, she had trained us to grab a towel when we were done and wipe out the tub, remove all evidence. So this world she found herself in, where her hair was casually being plucked out by her fingers, really was terrifying. So I volunteered to do the shaving because over this last couple years, I've developed this brand new expertise in shaving women's hair when in the middle of chemotherapy. Last summer, it was my Auntie Maria. At that time, we decided to set up the barber shop in the backyard. My daughters helped. They brought out the dining room chair.
Good evening. I'd like to tell a story about how I got kicked out of butter at Land O'Lakes and put into powdered milk. This is 1963, and I was a young mom, and Jim and I had just bought our first home in Mounds View, if you know where that is, Minnesota. It's just north of here. We bought a bungalow, just a little bungalow that had wall-to-wall carpeting, and we just thought we were kings. We just, oh, this was really a special thing for us. But we didn't have any furniture. We had spent $1,000 to put down on this little house, and we had a mattress on the floor in the bedroom. We had a crib for the baby, 2 lime green chairs that we had pulled from a dumpster, and a TV on a beer case. I wanted some new furniture, and so I found a job at Land O'Lakes on Stinson Boulevard in Minneapolis here. That's where the factory was at that time. And there was an 11 to 7 shift, which would allow my husband to watch the baby while I went to work. So this was my first experience with working in a factory. It was January and dark and cold, like you know how it gets in Minnesota. At 10:30 p.m., getting to work. The wind whistled and blew and around the deserted loading dock where we had to, where we were supposed to come into the building, not in the front door. I was told to take a freight elevator to the 3rd floor where I would find a locker room and change into the required uniform that they provided and a hairnet. So I was ready. There were sinks for scrubbing your hands on the outside of the wall of the toilets. And I was told that they were very strict about hand washing. If you were caught going into the toilet and you didn't wash your hand, you'd be fired on the spot. So I noticed, first of all, the noise. The noise was just hellish and sharp.
I think I did that very well, don't you? If you only knew how much practice it takes in these. So, and also, I've been looking at the photographs. I love historical photographs. So you see these Minnesota women, these lovely women, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I don't look like any of them. Maybe the roller derby girls down here in the corner. Well, it's great to be here. I just want to share a greeting and an introduction very quickly with you from my mother's tribe or nation, the Choctaw people of Oklahoma. And it goes like this: Halito, Chillicothe, Oklahoma, Pisitchabi, Pokney, Chukwa. And it's basically just greeting you, telling you who I am. So I wanted to share that with you because that is literally then a greeting and an introduction in a mother tongue, my mother's tongue. Yes, we ought to celebrate our mother tongues, no matter where they're from, this continent or other places. And it's great to see the Tunde because I'm reminded of one of my friends, mentors, colleagues who left us too soon, very recently, Beverly Cotman. And remembering the whole Cotman family tonight as well. Some of them are also colleagues of mine over at KFI. And it's also great to be here with some of my sisters from the Story Arts of Minnesota, particularly the board and the Story Fest planning committees of Sue and Pam. And I would encourage you, hopefully, to get out to Story Fest on April 29th at the Bloomington Center for the Arts, so you can be sure and take a look at that as well. We'd love to see you there as well. You know, last February, President Joe Biden delivered his second State of the Union address to the country. And right after that, in a televised response by the Republican Party, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders was chosen to deliver the response. And unfortunately, instead of replying to programs and policies and priorities, she took that opportunity to reignite the culture wars with a divisive statement. She said that President Joe Biden, and she was also touting that she was the first female governor of Arkansas. It didn't hurt that her dad had been governor of Arkansas as well at one time. And she said that President Joe Biden was a man, and he was the first male.
I am the high mountains and deep jungles of northeastern Laos, where rice fields are plenty and bamboo trees dance with the wind. Babies rest on their mothers' backs as mothers sew colorful patterns of bandao, patiently waiting for their husbands to return home from hunting wild beasts. Children gather round the crackling fire as elders tell dawning legends of mystical dragons and tigers, Bodzong, and spiritual realms. I am an ancestor, Dong Bo Lao, who had no master to teach him, but taught himself to become a respected Tsikeng in the village of Songda. He played his bamboo flute to comfort afflicted souls and, in times of joy, to welcome the harvest and new year. His music gathered the community to heal and celebrate. But that joy was soon cut short by war and displacement. I am a family who no longer have land or a home to call our own. During the Secret War, after the United States and General Vang Pao retreated, my family dodged bullets and bombs and ran for their lives away from Lao and Viet communists. If caught, they would be executed for aiding the Americans. When darkness fell, they quietly and quickly crossed the Mekong River to Thailand for a chance of peace and freedom. I am a mother and father who grew up within encampment walls, eating sardines from cans and vegetable scraps left on the dirt. From Christian missionaries, they learned English and Thai and prepared for a new life across the world, the United States, where it was rumored that giants and vampires reside. I am a child of St. Paul, Minnesota, where snow is plenty and pine trees dance at the four seasons.
Well, hello. I'm probably more of a writer than a storyteller in the form that these people are. I'm using an excerpt from my theater memoir, Running Uphill, which will be published soon by Afton Press. I wrote it to try to understand how and why I chose to be a theater director and producer. There's no money in it, you know. This required flashbacks to earlier times. My brother David and I talked all of our lives about a lesson we learned in 1942. I was 4 and David 5. When Mother made a very brave and unusual choice, one that has been useful in a world dominated by men. 1942, how Mother learned to drive. Mom settled David and me at the kitchen window to watch as she disappeared into the dark garage. She carefully backed the car down the driveway. Gray fumes poured from the tailpipe. She stopped level with the back door, set the emergency brake, and hurried into the kitchen to herd us outside. David asked, "Where are we going, Mom?" "Shush and get into the car." The car was a coupe with only 2 doors. She opened the driver's door and pulled the back of the driver's seat toward the steering wheel, creating a path to the back seat. We climbed in, excited and a little afraid. "Now get down on the floor and don't move or say a word until I give you permission." We crouched conspiratorially, facing each other, knees bent to chins. David's eyes lit up with expectation. We both got the giggles. Mom released the brake, ground the gears a bit, and drove up and down the driveway 3 times. Then she ordered us to sit up on the seat, one of us in each window, as she backed out and circled the block once, twice, 3rd time before turning back into the driveway. David begged to go farther, but Mom said through gritted teeth, "Later. We'll do it later." She pulled into the garage, stopped, and quickly helped us out of the car.
Good evening, Minneapolis. Check, check, check. You look so beautiful out there. So, it was 2010. I was traveling to Western Washington by plane, looking out the window. It was shortly after the BP oil spill, and I was thinking about the oil spill and how flying on a plane that needs oil was such a vicious cycle that I was actively a part of. And like everyone else, I was deeply affected by the oil spill. It was devastating to see birds and fish just covered in oil. Seeing how everyone's life was disrupted, livelihoods lost. I felt this weight of helplessness and hopelessness, wondering if the earth would ever recover or if we as humans would ever change our ways to help protect the earth. As I was thinking about all of this, a vision suddenly came into my mind's eye, and I could see the oil spill from above, and then I was brought down into the ocean, and this voice whispered to me, "If everyone prays for the water, the water will be healed. So I started praying for the water to be healed. And then in my vision, the sun shone down through the water, lighting up the ocean. It became clean and clear, and it sparkled with light. And I felt that weight of helplessness and hopelessness lift off of me. So I started praying for the water every day. I'd sing to the water and I'd pray for the water wherever I was. In the following summer, I stumbled upon a Facebook group called Water Walk 2011. It was started by 4 grandmothers who were walking from the 4 directions, each carrying a pail of water, one from the Gulf of Mexico, one from the Pacific Ocean, one from Thunder Bay, and one from the Atlantic. And they walked for months, carrying their pails of water, praying for the water. It grew and grew, and people gathered to help carry this water. My cousin was one of them. She said she could hear the water singing to her, reassuring her that she wouldn't spill a drop if she ran. So she ran, carrying this pail of water. The 4 pails of water eventually met in Milwaukee. The people poured their water and their prayers together and then poured that into Lake Michigan. Within the Water Walker...